starting a business, you started a business which was almost international from the get-go. Was that easier or harder? Was it easier to sort of not having to worry sort of later on about crossing boundaries? Because you're so high-end, people came to you.
I think being international was sort of, it just happened. It was a bit of an accident. First clients were, you know, London is an international place. We set up in London, so the sort of people who came to us were not necessarily English for a starter. We had Russians, Italians,
yeah.
You know, all sorts. We have a lot of English clients, obviously, but at the high end, the clients are international. They travel a lot. They live in multiple places. It's going to make it sound awful, but this is how they live.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to pin them down. And even if they're British, they tend to live in 4 or 5 different homes at the time. So this is your sort of bespoke client. We have now extended to a more, you know, sort of more encompassing, if you're a group of people, in the sense that it's a more affordable product. Still premium, still reasonably high-end, but more affordable. And there we've, you know, and we're selling to people, I presume, like us, you know,
okay.
Maybe a couple of houses, but not, you know, 20 houses around the world.
I feel, yeah.
I hope I didn't make.
I feel better. No, I started off, but now I feel better.
But no, we thought actually taste doesn't have to go just with money. Doesn't always go with money, frankly. But it was important to give everybody, more people, an access to great product, good quality product.
But talk about your sales culture. How have you managed to replicate what you started and founded in London abroad? How have you managed to, are you finding it's easy to have other destinations in other cities will replicate what you want in terms of core values?
No, this is actually quite hard work because there are 2 different things. You have selling to a customer who's a foreigner, lives abroad, comes to you, buys the product, takes them home, or you ship it home. And then you have setting up part of your business abroad, and that's when you start looking into, like pret-à-manger, sort of issues of logistics, issues of culture, and how do you drive the business abroad. So that's something we're just starting to do. We're at Lane Crawford in Hong Kong at the moment, but we're at Harrods here. So what we learn from Harrods is quite useful for Lane Crawford, but not always, because a Chinese consumer from mainland will not buy in the same way as a British consumer or even an Arab consumer coming into Harrods. These are totally different, sometimes different problematics. So you offer similar product, sometimes the same, but the client reacts differently. So you have to be prepared for that on top of the logistic issues you might have.
Doug, this is about culture, isn't it? Like trying to take pret-à-manger to the United States, trying to take anything to a different culture provides a whole different set of challenges. What works in one environment may not work in another. As Caroline said, they didn't get it to work the first time round. We were talking last week about Tesco's failing in the United States. What mistake do most businesses make when they try and make the jump from being a domestically focused institution to being an internationally focused institution?
I think that you've hinted at it in the conversation, and that is there is an inherent either naivete or arrogance that everyone's like us.
Yep.
And everyone is not like us. Even the US and the UK, though we may share similar languages, are really different cultures. Pret is literally, it rolled back because it put mayonnaise in sandwiches. I mean, but as an American, I'm very sympathetic to that sentence. It can take a very small misstep to have a very large failure. I was quite interested and not surprised to see Tesco roll back from the US. They had entered into one of the most competitive supermarket marketplaces in the world. In Southern California, they had to roll back, and I'm not surprised at all because I don't think they got exactly what the package of things were that an American consumer wanted.
Will it not be in the American memory, though, when they're what will allow them to draw in the customers and prove that they've got the maths, got the equilibrium they're offering right?
I think you can make mistakes in products and revisit a market over and over again. And once you get it right, I think you can be successful. But in terms of getting it wrong, it is a combination of product and service mix. So it is, does the product actually appeal to the consumer in the first instance? And then secondarily, do you have a relationship with the customer, which is the kind they expect? I mean, just take a look at the differing service levels between the UK and the US.
Well, that's what interested me, is the US, you always think, actually has better service levels. You know, they're very much more intense, proactive when you go into a store shopping for clothes. Will the fact that we've got this almost slightly American culture here in the UK, going into Pret, you don't often strike up conversation with a barista who's about to give you your coffee. Will that translate quite well into the United States?
I think it does. I think that we are talking different cultures. I mean, I'm actually a very bad American. I find refuge in not being assaulted by the hellos and thank you very much that I get in the UK. But there is no doubt that that's not true generally. And I think that businesses are at their peril if they go into another location in another country without somehow taking into account or taking advantage of local experts to make sure that they have a local sense of what's going to succeed.
I think business is about people. Any business, I would have said, and without necessarily having your experience of multiple, setting up multiple businesses, what we find is it's always about a relationship and it's always about people's expectations. And in different countries, they're different. I've lived in America for quite a while as well, and the coffee is totally different. So, of course, they will not relate well to something that is just brought straight from the UK. Some people might try it because it comes from the UK and it sounds cool, but it might not be what they want to drink, and then drink a lot of sort of filter coffee.
There was a phase when, to set up a successful business in the UK, you went to California, you sat in a coffee shop, you looked what people were doing, and you brought it here. Does that work anymore?
Yes. You can, a good idea in one place is potentially a great idea in another, but it is not merely the movement of the idea. You have to contextualize it against a new set of customers, and those that win find a way to do that, and those that fail we never hear from again and never know that they failed in the first instance.